think the problem is that most people confuse what human trafficking is.
Human trafficking occurs when an individual is compelled through force, fraud, or coercion to provide labor or services or engage in a commercial sex act.
It's amazing how many times, whether it be on the L or walking down the street, I've seen what appears to be trafficked girls, clearly under the age of 18, with either tattoos on their face or on their neck, but really under the force or domination of someone else.
Children under the age of 18 who are involved in the commercial sex trade do not need to prove force, fraud, or coercion.
I am surprised even now that at times law enforcement in Chicago and surrounding areas are not as familiar with this issue as we would hope they would be.
The effect of trafficking, I think, again, as I say, sort of seeps into the soul of the person, and I think in some respects there is a real loss of identity.
So often these victims can fall through the cracks because they're young, or they have no documentation, they have no social network here or family network here.
Illinois and Cook County have been at the forefront in combating human trafficking. The Cook County Anti-Trafficking Task Force is a model for the country, with law enforcement and social service agencies working with legal aid programs to attack the problem.
Understanding full well that I have no interest in mass arrests of prostitutes, that we are looking to get the really bad people, the people that are behind destroying these women's lives.
In 2009, Cook County State's Attorney Anita Alvarez established a county-wide anti-human trafficking initiative. Since then, 84 defendants have been charged with trafficking and related crimes, 36 of which have been convicted. Prior to this, there had been no criminals charged with the crime of human trafficking in Cook County or the state of Illinois.
The largest group by far are local people who are trafficking local women, and we see a lot more of that.
It's definitely overlooked. A lot of trafficking happens out in the open and we just don't realize it's going on. You see that especially with labor trafficking.
The trafficking is an entirely different animal, and you have a level of sophistication that you see there that you hadn't seen before.
Legal Aid Society board member Tian Batai has been recognized for her international work against human trafficking.
This is a very distinct, specialized area. The traumatized victims who come to us for legal assistance don't behave in ways that our normal, I don't want to say our normal, but our regular clients behave in. They're so traumatized, they might say something they don't mean, or they don't trust us. It's a very different dynamic that we had to learn to work with.
Today, the Legal Aid Society, as part of Metropolitan Family Services, is in a unique position to provide wraparound services to the survivors of trafficking.
We're trying to provide them essentially with holistic services to get them out of the place that they've been to a better place. And I think lawyers need to understand coming in that you have to be ready to take on the challenges of clients who are coming from those kinds of circumstances.
In order to help survivors, they don't just need legal support, they don't need just social support, they don't just need a criminal case, they need to have all of those happen at the same time.
The Legal Aid Society was awarded an Equal Justice Works Fellowship and brought in attorney Catherine Longcoomer to begin implementing a program that receives referrals from social service agencies and law enforcement, providing representation with the help of corporate and law firm partners.
The legal community has a huge role to play in helping the law enforcement community. Even if the law enforcement community is the one that identified the victim and they did a rescue, victims are terrified of law enforcement, even under the best circumstances.
One case can involve multiple legal issues, including litigation in the area of immigration law, the vacating of criminal records, filing for bankruptcy, an order of protection, obtaining restitution from the trafficker, and relief from financial fraud.
Our client was entitled to a certain amount of restitution, and she came to us for help being able to get that restitution, and then also to get some stability and clarity in her immigration status in this country.
We provide legal services to vacate judgments of prostitution where the victim was forced into prostitution, or we help them with bankruptcy because their trafficker exploited their credit.
In working with bankruptcy lawyers at Perkins Coie, we developed a bankruptcy strategy whereby she could essentially get those debts erased and begin to reclaim her name and her credit score, if you will. And so that was a real, I think, benefit to her.
The Legal Aid Society continues to partner with law enforcement, social service providers, and the legal community. As for the survivors of human trafficking, rebuilding their lives is the one task where justice is essential to recovery. The system must not fail them.
Even though there's no such thing as complete justice, you can't necessarily undo the wrong that was done to these clients, you can at least get them a little bit further along in a road to restoration and to recovery. And whether that's a small step or a large one, you've made some kind of contribution, and that's a great thing to take away at the end of the day.